Hi, good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. This is Gene Lai here, founder of Diamond Tree, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys a bit about Bitcoin and how you and I can capitalize on its immense growth. Okay, so when you start by Googling Bitcoin, you're going to get all sorts of terminology on it: cryptocurrency, digital money, internet magic money. Okay, and you know what? They're all absolutely right. Bitcoin is digital cash. Kind of like how, emails are digital letters. And they've changed how we send emails. And so Bitcoin is the same. It's changed how we're sending money as well. It's become cheaper, more efficient, and much, much more secure. Now, this is one of the major announcements which changed a lot of people's perception about Bitcoin. When Bitcoin officially became a commodity in 2015, everybody started talking about Bitcoin. NASDAQ was talking about it, CNBC was talking about it, CNN was talking about it, Business Insider was talking about it. Everyone basically loved Bitcoin. Now, here's the thing about Bitcoin: the value of Bitcoin is not determined by any central bank or any government authority. It is solely determined by market force, supply and demand, kind of like gold and oil. And so when the UK exited from the European Union last year during Brexit, the demand to hedge against the pound was extremely high. So people who understood gold, they bought gold, and people who understood Bitcoin, they bought Bitcoin. Now this definitely drove up the demand for Bitcoin in the UK. And so let's look at how the price was, affected by that. So back then during Brexit, the price of Bitcoin in the US was about $746, and in the UK it was $613. Now if you convert that in British pounds to US dollars, you're going to get about 763 US dollars. So you can see the difference between the two countries. Okay, and another good example of this, difference is when India had their demonetization exercise last year in 2016, and they got rid of the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. They pulled them out of circulation. Overnight, the price of Bitcoin in India went up as well. I mean, it went up way more than 200 US dollars higher than what it was even in the US. And so Bitcoin finished the year 2016 as the top currency, and it was worth about $1,000. Right now, it's August 2017, and the price of Bitcoin is already more than 4,500 US dollars. Now, I want you guys to understand that this is not just speculation of the market. It's real businesses and real people using Bitcoin. Dell and Microsoft have been long supporters of Bitcoin. You can go to their websites and purchase their services and goods with Bitcoin. You can go on Expedia and book your hotel with Bitcoin, cheap air to buy a flight. When I was in the US, I could buy a Subway sandwich with Bitcoin, and with my gift app, I could walk into Starbucks and buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. So all of this is definitely fueling the demand. And all of this demand is attracting a lot of venture capital. All this venture capital is going to be put to good use towards improving the Bitcoin infrastructure. You see, Bitcoin as a currency has to be liquid. And so exchanges allow you to do so. An exchange is kind of like your money changer. You can go and exchange your local currency to Bitcoin, or vice versa, you can convert Bitcoin into your local currency. This definitely helps travelers, especially because you can only carry $10,000. And so if you're doing multiple countries and you needed more cash on you, Bitcoin would definitely be the way to go. All right. Mining. Mining is kind of like the central bank of Bitcoin. It's where all new Bitcoin is released. Mining is also what you could say, or what you could call, the servers of Bitcoin, because all these computers, these supercomputers, they do all the processing of all the transactions of Bitcoin, and they keep all those records. Okay? Wallets are kind of like your bank account, but the big difference is this: when you open a bank account, the bank controls your money. When you open a Bitcoin wallet, you're basically your own bank because you control it yourself. So don't forget your password. So all of this infrastructure put together has made Bitcoin so much more easier to use. And so that's why if you look at the evolution of money and how we've started from barter trading to using gold to using paper money, credit cards, and right now Bitcoin, it's all really because of convenience. And so Understanding Bitcoin is really important because Bitcoin is one of the easiest ways to make payments online or offline. It's very, very divisible. Every Bitcoin right now has 8 decimal points attached to it. And so what that means to you and I is, let's say the value of Bitcoin is $1,000. That would mean 0.1 Bitcoin would be worth $100, and 0.01 would be worth $10. And you could push this value, even further as you move down the decimal line. So when Bitcoin is worth $10,000 each, that would mean 0.1 would be worth $1,000. And so every single decimal now grows in value. Make sense? So let's say, for example, you were going to take a bus in France, and let's say the price of Bitcoin was $1,000, and the bus fare was $2. That means you would paying for your bus fare with 0.002 Bitcoin. Make sense? So you see, it's really, really easy to use Bitcoin. And don't worry about calculating all those decimal points. You just put in the dollar amount or local currency amount that you want to pay, and your app will automatically convert it to Bitcoin for you. Really simple. Okay, so let's put Bitcoin to some practical use. Let's say you bought a house in Australia and you wanted to pay $1,000 a month for your mortgage. Now, if you use the bank to transfer that money, that will cost you a pretty penny. But if you use Bitcoin, the transaction fees are way cheaper. And so let's say you started paying for this house in 2015 when Bitcoin was $250. Well, to send $1,000, you would have to send 4 Bitcoin. And the beauty of it is you can send this any time of the day, rain or shine, public holiday, even on the weekends. Now fast forward to 2017. In the early part of 2017, 1 Bitcoin was worth $2,000. So if you wanted to pay $1,000, you just transfer 0.5 Bitcoin. Here's the thing. If you're looking at this, you will realize that for Bitcoin 2015, right now that's worth more than $16,000, right? And you'll be absolutely right. You see, the beauty of a Bitcoin is it's always going to be growing in value. But for this gentleman right here, all he's thinking about is, I just want to be able to send $1,000 every month quickly and cheaply. And so back then, when Bitcoin was worth $250, how much cash came out of his pocket when he wanted to send $1,000? That's right, $1,000. And now Bitcoin is worth much more, but how much comes out of his pocket in cash when he wants to transfer $1,000? Just $1,000. Nothing has changed on his end. But for us, because we see the growth of the value, what you want to do is you want to get more Bitcoin. Okay, so like I was saying just now, Bitcoin is changing a lot of industries. The remittance industry is definitely one. All those companies, they definitely need to get aboard the Bitcoin wagon, otherwise they're going to end up like Kodak. To be honest, PayPal and Western Union are definitely starting to adopt Bitcoin already. But let's not talk about them. Let's talk about how you and I can start using Bitcoin without using these companies. All you need is a smartphone, and you can go to your App Store or Play Store and download these apps and be able to use Bitcoin instantly. If you download coins.ph in the Philippines, you could pay for your university tuition fees at De La Salle University and pay with Bitcoin. You could pay for your electricity bill. You could pay for your water bill. You could pay for your cable bill. You could even pay for your credit card bill with Bitcoin in the Philippines using coins.ph. And so you see all these apps are making it so much easier for us to use Bitcoin all over the world. Okay, so here's a transaction example of an exchange called Luno. So Luno is from South Africa, but this is an example of an exchange transaction done in Malaysia. And so you could see over here that 1 Bitcoin was sold for 5,200 ringgit back in March 11, 2017. And then it was transferred to Hong Leong Bank. Look at the withdrawal fee though. The withdrawal fee was only 10 cents ringgit. How much is that? That's like 2 pennies. Really, really cheap. And so you can see it's so easy to use Bitcoin now wherever you are. So let's do a little history lesson on Bitcoin. Bitcoin started in 2009, It was started by Satoshi Nakamoto, which is an alias. We don't know whether that's a single person or a group. And Bitcoin's release of new Bitcoins at that time was 50 Bitcoin per block. Now, a block back then was roughly about 10 minutes long, okay? And so every, this new release of Bitcoin is going to happen into the year 2140. So we've got a long, long time to go. Remember I said that value of Bitcoin is determined by supply and demand? So back then there was a supply, 50 Bitcoin every block, but there was no demand. The first transaction which gave Bitcoin its first value was in 2010 when someone paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. That gave Bitcoin its first value, whereby 4 Bitcoin was worth 1 cent. Now, here's something interesting to know. Well, those 2 pizzas are now worth more than $40 million. Hope you guys like pizza. So, every 4 years, the Bitcoin protocol has a phenomenon called the halving. And what that means is basically the supply of new Bitcoin put into circulation is going to be reduced by half. So from 50, it became 25 Bitcoin per block. So if you look at it this way, you'll understand that Bitcoin is the total opposite of our current monetary system. I mean, our current monetary system is inflationary. What do I mean by this? So let's say, guys, you put $1 million into your bank account and your central bank decides to print more money. Is your $1 million going to grow in value or is it going to lose value? Lose value, right? Why? Because that's what governments call quantitative easing, and that's what we call inflation. Bitcoin is the total opposite. It's deflationary, so that over time, there's always going to be less Bitcoin put into circulation. And that's why the value is going up. So the last halving happened in July 2016. So from 25 Bitcoin per block, it became 12.5 Bitcoin per block. Let's talk about the value here. From 2012 to 2016, from one halving to the other, the value of Bitcoin shot up by more than 460%. Now the next halving is going to happen in June 2020. And I'm not a psychic and I don't know how much Bitcoin is going to be worth then, but I can tell you this. From July last year to August 2017, Bitcoin has already increased in value by 700%. And so, guys, when you understand this, I'm showing you the supply chain right here, and you know that it's preset to always reduce every 4 years, you definitely want to get more Bitcoin, because look at the demand. This is the blockchain, guys, and on the blockchain you can see every single transaction of Bitcoin. And so from day one you can see that there weren't many in the beginning. Well, actually there was none. And then there was the pizza, right? And right now, oh my goodness, all these transactions have gone through the roof. Hence why the demand for Bitcoin is real and why more and more people are beginning to use it. Okay, now where's Bitcoin's price headed? I'm not psychic and I'm not a financial expert, but let you guys listen to people who are.
You'll see Bitcoin trading at 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. Rick Falkvenia does an excellent analysis. He predicts that Bitcoin will capture between 1 and 10% of the global Forex market, which implies a price of between $100,000 to $1 million per Bitcoin. Most of the people who are on the sidelines not buying Bitcoin today will start to buy Bitcoin when it gets over 1,000. And then a greater percentage of people will definitely plow into Bitcoin when it starts to get over 10,000.
I'm still predicting Bitcoin, $10,000 per Bitcoin in 3 years.
Saras, he is the CEO of Zappo, which is a Bitcoin wallet and Bitcoin vault.
I think it's mostly a very positive thing. I think we're going to see ups and downs like with any other emerging technology. But I think Bitcoin is here to stay, and it makes sense that it be taxed and treated like any other.
So let's make a bold call here. In 10 years, what do you think Bitcoin will be worth? One Bitcoin.
Between $500,000 and $1 million.
A lot of people are just seeing the charts and thinking, how high will it go? But what I'm doing is counting backwards. I mean, this is a transactional currency, and it is a store of value. As such, it is a product and a service competing on a very tangible market for stores of value and for transactional currencies. So what is the size of that market?
Right. And this is important.
And how big a market share can Bitcoin realistically take within a foreseeable time frame? When you ask that question, then you come up with a market cap of Bitcoin total, and then you divide that by the number of Bitcoin in circulation by your estimated time. And seeing how Chinese are buying Bitcoin like crazy, I actually had to adjust this number upwards, but then you come up with a number of about $2 to $5 million per Bitcoin.
It suggests that everyone go back to buy one Bitcoin. Not too much, only one is enough. If everyone in this world, people, just to go back buy one Bitcoin, the Bitcoin value go to the $1 million.
Okay, there you have it. Now the question is though, with all those big figures that they're shooting out there, have you missed the boat yet? Okay, so let's talk about real economies and real market caps. Gold. Market cap for gold is $8,200 billion or $8.2 trillion. What about this? If you guessed Bitcoin, you're wrong. It's the Dow. So the Dow is at 5,476 billion or 5.4 trillion. What about this little dot? Bitcoin? Wrong again. It's Apple. Apple is valued at $815 billion. This, Alphabet, the guys who invested into Google. Facebook, 492 billion. What could this be? Alright, so Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency, but there's a few more out there. The total cryptocurrency market cap is at $137 billion. Okay, here's our friend Bitcoin. Nope, not yet. That's Bill Gates. Okay, here we are. Bitcoin. Bitcoin's market cap right now is $60 billion. Okay, and so guys, when you talk about Bitcoin and you talk about getting more Bitcoin, you got to understand where Bitcoin comes from. And all Bitcoin comes from Bitcoin mining. As you can see over here, Bitcoin is definitely on the rise. Now, let's talk about Bitcoin. I know that might sound like rocket science to you guys, but really, it's storage of all the transactions. Okay, so someone has to keep track of them, someone has to store them. That's what the miners do. They do all this storage for you. However, no one's going to be doing this for free, right? And so that's why the Bitcoin protocol has Bitcoin preset to do these payments. Remember we were talking about them? 50 Bitcoin per block back then 25, and right now 12.5. Okay, that's how miners profit. On top of that as well, per transaction, there's a couple of cents which is incurred. That's also paid towards the miners. Okay, so let's talk about how you can capitalize on this. Well, some people, they say, why don't I just buy Bitcoin? Well, nothing wrong with that. That's what we call holding Bitcoin. But let's do a comparison of holding Bitcoin versus mining. So let's say you bought Bitcoin in August when it was about 3,600 US dollars. And you keep this one Bitcoin for the next 3 years to the next halving. And let's say by then it's about $15,000 per Bitcoin. Well, then you have $15,000. But if let's say you got involved with Bitcoin mining with bitclub and you spend that money to buy a mining share, you could possibly mine pessimistically in the next 3 years about 4 Bitcoins. So when it's valued at $15,000 per Bitcoin, wow, your 4 Bitcoins are worth $60,000. But here's the best thing. You see, if you just bought 1 Bitcoin and you sold it, you wouldn't have any more Bitcoin left, right? But if you were part of bitclub and you mined that 4 Bitcoin, even if you sold them, you would always get more Bitcoin every day because you're part of our mining pool. Okay? So that's why, guys, I always advise people, yeah, go ahead, do buy some Bitcoin, but definitely get involved with Bitcoin mining. Okay, so who is bitclub? Well, if you look over here on the blockchain, you can see that bitclub is listed as one of the top 10 miners of the world. They've gone as high as one of the top 5. I believe this year they've even been tied, a three-way tie for the first place, actually. And apart from Bitcoin, they're also one of the top miners for Ethereum. They're actually one of the top 50 miners for Ethereum. And this is going to change as well, because as we get more hashing power, more computing power, more and more blocks are going to be hit, and we're going to be going up higher in the rankings. So, who else is talking about bitclub? Well, NASDAQ recognizes them as one of the biggest pools in the world. CNBC talks about them. So, investing.com as well mentions bitclub. And let's go have a look at their mining pool. So, bitclub has been mining since 2014. They have mined more than $100 million right now worth of Bitcoin, and they've paid all of that out. On top of that, here's one of their mining facilities in Iceland. The reason why they're mining in Iceland is because, of course, the cool weather and a cheap electricity. Okay, so you can see that we don't have to run air conditioning to cool the mining computers down. We just run them through the vents there at the end of the hall. And when you're part of this pool, you never have to worry about anything. You never have to worry about maintenance. It's all done for you. And you can come and visit. We have multiple visits organized in the year. And so you're welcome to come and join in on that as well. Okay. Now, Iceland has abundant sources of geothermal and hydroelectric energy supply. And so that's why it's really, really cheap over there to mine Bitcoin. Okay. So this is a visit that we had in June 2017. There was more than 200 of us over there. The gentleman who has a shaven head with a Bitcoin t-shirt, that is Russ. That's the main founder for bitclub. And of course we had visitors from all over the world, from the US, from Japan, from Asia, everywhere. Everyone was visiting the mine this year. And we look forward to seeing you guys there as well. Okay, so let's talk about mining a little bit more. I don't want to get too techy, but I need to let you understand that you always have to upgrade your equipment. So back in 2014, we were using the S3 miner, and right now we're using the S9 miner. You can kind of think of it as, the iPhone 3, and right now we're using the iPhone 9. Okay, you can also see that the amount of money spent on electricity costs to power 1 petahash back then in 2014 was about $60,000. And right now, with a more efficient and faster miner with the S9, it's only $6,000. So less overheads equals more profits for you and me. Okay, so that's why upgrading is important. Now, how do you upgrade if you don't have to reinvest more money from your pocket? Well, bitclub has a very, very unique system called the repurchase. That means every day as you are mining Bitcoin, portions of your Bitcoin are going to be put aside. I want you to think of it kind of like a forced savings. So this forced savings, though, is put aside to buy more equipment. And that has a compounding effect on your returns. That means every day as you're mining and these portions are put aside, even though a mining share lasts for 1,000 days, you never really have to worry about it ending because of this constant repurchase. You can think of it as more money being put in to buy more equipment. But that new money doesn't come from your pocket. You only have to invest one time. That new money comes from portions of your daily profit from mining. And so it is the most sustainable, most effective way for you to be competent in the market, because you always need to have more and more new equipment. Okay, so very, very easily you can get involved with bitclub. How much is it going to cost you? Well, let's look at some packages right now. Okay, so if you just want to sit back, put your feet up, and get Bitcoin every single day, you would want to be an investor. Okay, and it could range from $4,800, $28,000. The amount is absolutely up to you. We've got people who buy $100,000, $200,000, and every day they get Bitcoin. And this has been going on for the last 3 years. However, if let's say you came from a budgeted standpoint, but you were willing to refer others to buy a mining contract, well, then you could possibly look at the entrepreneur pack. That's $1,800. The mining returns are going to be a little less than the investor ones because $1,800 won't be able to get as much equipment for sure, but you'll be able to make money as well because there are referral fees built into this system. Now, what am I talking about right here? Okay, after you buy your first mining share, the next two that you refer to others, you'll be able to get 5% on them. And so if let's say that value was $3,500, you'd be getting $175. Now remember what you're selling. You're selling a mining share. And remember, as I was saying just now, as you're getting profits every day, portions of your profit are going towards repurchasing. That repurchasing is buying more equipment. And so number one and number two over here, every day as they're mining and every day as portions of their profits are put back into repurchasing, you, being the referrer, will get another commission from that. I want you to kind of think of it as ongoing commission, because if you think about what a repurchase is, it's really a micro sale. And so if you look on the left, the percentages in white, that's kind of like a commission you get for selling a house. You get that one time. And the percentage on the right, that's kind of like the rental profit that you get. And so that's ongoing. And because this commission structure is tiered, the third, fourth, and fifth mining share that you refer, you're going to get 6% upfront and 12% passively as they do repurchasing. The 6, 7, and 8 mining share that you refer, you're going to get 7% upfront and 15% passively. Now the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th onwards, that is going to be at 8% upfront and 18% passively. Okay, guys? So, thank you for watching this video. Do get back to the person who invited you to watch it. Make a calculation as to how much your budget is. And I look forward to welcoming you on the other side when you come and join BitClub. Take care and have a great day.